And let's continue our study of the 4 native magnolias to the Appalachian Mountains and parts of the Ohio Valley. And I don't believe there's too many in the lower Great Lakes except maybe around Lake Ontario. But this is mostly a plant you're going to find in the moister soils of the Appalachian Mountains at the mid to low elevations. And today finds me in Powell County, Kentucky at the Red River Gorge National Recreation Area with hundreds of miles of trails and all kinds of unique plants here. What I've got my sights on today is the green buds of an umbrella magnolia. I introduced the umbrella just in name a couple weeks ago with a bud, but I was comparing it to the Fraser magnolia. Well, today this is the umbrella magnolia, and I found several good examples for teaching. So the bud on these is actually an olive green, kind of the same color as a frog. And the branch itself is probably about 1/4 to 1/2 inch wide and a light brown, almost a tan color. And a couple weeks ago, I was comparing it to the Fraser magnolia, and I still have that bud with me today. And you can see the bud is a darker color and the branch is much darker. So that's one way we can tell the Fraser magnolia from the umbrella magnolia during the wintertime. These are just saplings growing here. I'm not finding anything more than a couple inches wide at this particular place. But I'll be on the lookout for larger examples of the umbrella magnolia. And another common magnolia in this park is the Big Leaf Magnolia, and I found lots of it, and I'm going to continue with that in just a moment. And you could call the Big Leaf Magnolia litterbug magnolia, because these leaves litter the forest floor, and they stay intact all winter long. This is mid-March now. And last year's leaves are littering the floor of the forest, and they look different than the oak and the other leaves that are on the ground here. They're a lighter color. They're almost like a white or a light tan color. You can see them here. I'm going to do more with the size of these leaves in a couple hours here. There's some better examples up the trail here. But I wanted to compare this tree to the umbrella magnolia. So I'm going to go right up the hill here and show you what the buds look like on a Big Leaf Magnolia compared to the umbrella magnolia. And just about 100 feet up the hill from that umbrella magnolia, I've got some Big Leaf Magnolia. This tree is a little bit larger, probably 40-50 feet high, reaching towards the sky. And it's got some lower branches where we can study the buds. But like the Fraser magnolia, it's a light gray, almost a brownish color. Brown enough that I don't think you confuse it with the American beech. I mentioned with that Fraser magnolia that it could look like a beech tree, but it really doesn't because of the way it grows in clumps. Let's take a look at this bud on this Big Leaf Magnolia. The way I can tell it from that umbrella magnolia is it's covered with a white fuzz. Instead of being a green color that's smooth, this is like a white fuzz, and it makes it a lighter color. And that character trait is called pubescence. When a tree bud or a leaf is covered with a light, like a little bit of fuzz or like a minor amount of fur. And that bud is about the same length, about 1.5 inches long on this Big Leaf Magnolia. But I have found some huge leaves from last year's crop that I'm going to put in a separate video and stitch onto this one in a couple hours here, because these leaves get incredibly large. And we'll take a look at those shortly. And let's continue our study of the umbrella and Big Leaf Magnolias. I've actually got the buds side by side now. So our Big Leaf Magnolia has a slightly larger bud, probably 1.5 inches long here, and is covered with a white fuzz. Easy to tell from the darker green, almost frog green, like a bullfrog green color of the umbrella magnolia on your left. So we got Big Leaf on the right with that fine white fuzz on it, and definitely more of a gray color to the stem. And our umbrella magnolia has got a brown stem and a frog green bud, which can often turn purple as well. So the green isn't guaranteed, but you can see it's definitely different. Let's get back to the litterbug magnolia, the big leaf magnolia. This one tree here, which is maybe 40 feet high, has left hundreds of leaves on the ground here. Now, most trees leave hundreds of leaves on the ground, but they don't stick around for months at a time, and they're not so large. So it almost looks like somebody's taken all these leaves and just intentionally made a mess of the woods, kind of like a prank when somebody's house gets TP'd as a joke. We'll use that as just a way of remembering how much visual pollution, if you want to call it that. But this is nature. We're not calling it pollution. This is what these trees leave behind. And these leaves will be here and probably through part of the next growing season when they can decay. But they haven't decayed too much yet. And the way we can tell the leaves from the umbrella magnolia from the big leaf magnolia is the big leaf magnolia leaves are larger. I've got umbrella on the left that are about a foot long. And they do not have this white underside. Here's our big leaf. Brown on one side and white on the back side, and that's what you see that looks like this is littering the woods, is the white underside. The magnolia, or the umbrella magnolia, is brown on both sides. It has decayed quicker over this winter than the big leaf has, so the umbrella doesn't stay around as long, and it doesn't look like it's polluting the woods visually. The fruit of the big leaf magnolia has littered the ground here as well. They almost look like a pine cone. They're about 3 inches long. And they're covered with seeds in the fall, but those seeds have all been eaten or fallen off. And it's left this dark brown, almost looks like a pine cone on a pretty thick stalk that's about almost an inch thick. So there's the fruit of the big leaf magnolia. I think the lighting's a little better actually on this one right here. You can see the texture of it. So we've got the fruit and the leaves and the buds of the umbrella magnolia and the big leaf magnolia here. And just to show you how big the leaves get on this big leaf magnolia, it's called big leaf for a reason. I've got a 3-foot hiking stick here, and that leaf is half as long as my hiking stick. So it's 24, maybe 18 to 24 inches long, and again sticks around all through the winter. One more thing I want to show you guys. The big leaf magnolia, if you didn't know for sure which leaf it was, has what's called earlobes where the bottom of the leaf meets the stem. So it actually makes like a little loop right there instead of coming straight into the stem. And the umbrella magnolia does not.